Hello and welcome to the 8th episode of the 8-6 podcast, hosted by Half Past 8 and Swag Rat. On today's episode, we dive into what's left of the German car industry with news of Mercedes dropping wagons from the lineup, BMW dropping everything fun out of their lineup, and Audi dropping their entire company off a cliff. But first, in more positive news, Ford's come out with the Mustang Dark Horse SC. I think the SC, does that stand for supercharged? Or is it just
It
a
might.
kind of like
I mean,
hmm,
at that horsepower number, I guarantee you that thing's supercharged.
oh, absolutely. Because it's kind of like how manufacturers use like RS, which used to stand for Rally Sport, now it just means the sporty model. So maybe this is just the sporty word, the sporty letters. It is actually kind of impressive. It's kind of like a cheaper. I don't want to say a cheaper version of the GTD. It's like in between their top street legal trim, and this is now the new top street. I think it's street legal. New top street legal trim, and the GTD, which if I remember correctly is not street legal technically. It's
It's also fucking 6 digits.
Yeah, but low six digits. It's not like the GTD, which again they point at $327,000. Yeah, only race teams
And
buy that.
how much is this going for? Starts at 103. Okay, so they're both 6 digits,
1035.
but
Yeah,
the other one is 3 times the price.
yeah. This is what you buy if you are a rich kid and you want the top of the line Mustang. The GTD is what you buy if you're racing in the ARCA series. Um,
This is going to be the rapper car. When people
mm,
finally start getting bored of the new Corvettes, I think that's going to be the new rapper car.
are Corvettes rapper cars? I don't know. I don't follow that segment of the population.
Somebody who doesn't spend a lot of time in the rap community, who spends a lot of times around nightclubs and shit, yes.
Ouch. That car deserves better.
Yeah, I agree.
It was never going to have better, but it deserves better. You might be right then. It's like almost 800 horsepower, 660 pound-feet of torque. So it's going to be ripping those tires off the line. Just 20 horsepower shy of the GTD, which almost, if the GTD were like a normal trim, normal, public accessible, because I think they limit who they sell them to. Trim of the Mustang that might almost cut into the value proposition of the GTD. But since the GTD's, again, if I remember correctly, and you'd know more about this than I would, a dedicated race car, this isn't going to impact that.
I think the GTD might have had a slightly less strict version of what the Ford GTs came out with, where they picked who bought them and then made you sign like an agreement that you weren't going to sell them for 2 years, which I hate the fact that car companies are even allowed to do that. It fucking bugs me.
I think it's there so that you don't just flip them. They don't want people just flipping them, which I mean, I don't hate it. I can see why they do it. I'm kind of in the middle on that.
It's my God-given right as a scumbag. I bought the car. I'm allowed to flip it. Fuck yourself.
Fair enough. 5.2 liter, yep, supercharged 5.2 liter V8. That's impressive numbers out of a 5.2. Mated to a 7-speed dual clutch, so it doesn't have the friggin' 10-speed. That's good. This thing is actually going to be fun on the track. Its hood is made of aluminum with a carbon fiber vent. Generates 2.5 times more downforce than Dark Horse's hood vent. Interesting. Optional track pack, which I think is another 30 grand, and then you can get the top trim with the appearance package and everything, which is like 171 grand.
So the carbon fiber appearance package is going to be the ZL1 1LE package. It's going to be all the extra canards and everything.
Yeah. They compare it to the Z06, which is a little cheaper, and the 911 Carrera, which is a little bit more expensive. I find it funny. Their assessment is that it's a performance bargain. So, I mean, great performance for the money, and they're not wrong. Definite downgrade in interior quality. Okay? You don't buy, I mean, and if that's true, and I'd have to look at the interior, but if that's true, maybe these won't be rapper cars. Let me actually
It's
have a look.
possible.
It looks, I'm not going to say it looks especially good, only because it looks like a Mustang with extra bits. And the Mustang is not a bad looking car, but this isn't special in that regard.
The new front end doesn't look bad. I still am not a fan of how retro boxy, I guess is what I would call it, that rear end is
I
over the
actually
old model.
like it. I really, really like the front end.
The front end's good. The back end is what I'm kind of
I
questioning.
like the wing. The wing's very nice looking. I like
The
the
wing
front
is nice.
end. I actually like that back end. The only, I mean, the way it kind of angles in like that is, I could take it or leave it. I prefer it be flatter and boxier, but I like boxy cars.
Well, we were making fun of something in the server the other day, and this has exactly what we're making fun of. It has a ducktail and a wing. Did you? Yeah,
The ducktail and the wing makes sense. Roof, spoiler, and wing doesn't.
that is
Doesn't.
true.
But ducktail and wing actually makes sense. This interior, fuck you mean? Okay, the only downgrade interior quality I can see, it's very bare bones. I'll grant. It's got the stupid iPad dash, but I mean, whatever.
I actually don't
Um,
hate it. I don't. I'm becoming. I don't know. As I become more and more of an enthusiast as I age, I am becoming more one of those people that would rather have stripped down fun cars than fucking super
I
annoying.
I like the stripped down fun car. I just don't like the iPad dash and the dial shifter.
I'm
Those
right there
are
with you.
those are stupid. But I mean, so the whole line about, oh, it's a performance bargain but downgrade interior quality. Well, you're buying these things for the performance, less so the interior quality. So it's at a good price. And overall experience. What do you mean by that? Does
You're
it?
getting double. It's funny. They're like, it has a significant horsepower advantage over the 911. You're paying slightly less for double the horsepower, but it's a 911.
Yeah.
It's a nine. It's a fucking 911.
Hmm.
Carreras are infamous, bro. The Carrera is still gonna take. I mean, even over the Z06 probably is still gonna take corners and everything better on track. So if you plan on tracking something,
This thing I think is going to be faster on the straights. It could probably keep up
oh,
with the Carrera.
it's not even a question. It's gonna be faster on the straights, but this thing is gonna be so back heavy and like loose trying to
Wow.
turn.
I could still see it keeping up with a Carrera, depending upon the track. Depending upon the track.
I think it would entirely depend on the track.
Yeah.
I I think this is going to take maybe a little bit of market share. It's definitely going to give people options over,
Hmm.
oh, I have the Z06 or you could
Yeah.
also get this.
Hmm.
I don't really think it's going to eat too much into the margins that 911s are selling.
Yeah. I will say I'm very happy that America is back on its massive muscle car arc. It's not a like that's close to 6 liters. It's got a decently big block, big supercharger, big power numbers. I
Well, if
mean,
you're a bigger leader guy, you won't buy this. You'll buy when they come out with it, you'll buy the new Hellcat because that's still got the 6.4 liter instead.
it's still a nice, solid hunk of American iron, which I
It
like.
is.
Yeah. So I don't like the
So
Mustangs are getting more expensive overall, but I do kind of like this top trim of it, and hopefully Ford will. I don't know. This kind of leads me to another thing that I did comment on our notes for this. Mustangs in general have gotten way too expensive,
agreed.
and because the thing about the Mustang, the thing about American muscle cars in general, is that they were alternatives to European performance cars. Europeans built these very finely crafted, precision engineered marvels of engineering that were super expensive. And America said, you know, we want to bring the sports car experience to the masses, so we're just going to take this big fuck off engine, put a cheap supercharger, when turbos were super expensive, just dump a supercharger in it, which is cheap in the high-end trims, and sell it for an amount of money that like a steel worker in Dearborn, Michigan can afford in like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Make it cheap. Mustangs now have become kind of higher end performance cars, and I don't really like that. I want them to go. I like that we're moving away from the stupid EVs and back towards proper V8s and even V6s. I actually kind of like V6s. Make them cheap again. Like cut out a lot of this like strip out all this electronic crap that nobody wants anyways. Make a good, solid, stripped down, basic Mustang that's like 28K, and then if you want the electronics and the really high tune precision engines, higher trims, this shit. Because I like this, but let's use this as an excuse to make the base model a little bit less over-engineered. I hope.
I can agree with you. Drop the iPad dashes, just go back to regular gauges to fucking strip it out as much as, but give me a radio that works.
Yeah.
I'll do the rest. Let me get into the car for less than 30K, no matter the car, and I will fucking do the rest to it. The aftermarket will keep me busy all day.
Hell, like, throw out the traction control. I'm not using it anyways. I have 2 cars. One doesn't have traction control, and one I turn off the traction control every time I get in. So, I like this, and I hope that... I mean, I just like what Ford's doing in the Mustang. It's not that I don't like what they're doing in the Mustang. I love what they're doing in the Mustang, and I hope that they do more things with the Mustang. And I hope that Dodge does more things with the Charger, and that...
I'm glad that Ford has really just decided to not get rid of all the fun shit. They've experimented with like the EV and stuff, and that obviously didn't go well, but they tried this and they tried that, and they're trying to do hybrids, and they're trying to do all this shit, but they never dropped. They brought the Bronco out and then made a stupid horsepower version of it. They did the same thing with the Raptor truck and the Ranger truck. Mm-hmm. They made a Raptor version of that with a lot of horsepower, and then they have their muscle car, and then they have the Ford GT. So they actually still have a full lineup of fun cars, but they also have all these mass market trash pieces that, you know,
they're missing one thing.
Okay.
A replacement for the Focus.
Okay, I can see that.
The Focus was the last good American rally car.
Or you know what they should do? They should. They're stripped down. I could see the return of the Escort, like for a stripped down, fun focused car that's cheap.
Yeah.
If they remade the Escort and brought it out and didn't fucking ruin it by making it into some ugly ass SUV, that'd be awesome.
Bring that back as like a cheap sedan, and bring back the Focus as a cheap hatchback, because I mean, again, the Focus was the last American-made car that did really well in rally, both as like professionally built by the manufacturer and in like amateurs buying these things and souping them up. I mean, you still see them at rallycross events, whipping around, having a blast.
What's the Focus and the Fiesta? You see them both.
Yeah, and the only thing Ford is missing in their lineup is either a sedan or a hatchback. Do that, perfect. So, yeah. American car market, doing solid. German car market, womp fucking womp. So, I'm not really... Okay, I like wagons. Wagons are great. Wagons, arguably superior to SUVs. People haven't bought wagons at scale in like 20 years.
You are correct. And I have 2 thoughts on this. I have the thought that they're correct. Not a lot of people buy wagons.
Yeah.
What I will say is the people that do want wagons, make it into a trim package.
I could see that.
Like, make it... we've talked about this several times on this podcast, and we've talked about it outside the podcast too. Make it so that you make a car that can sit in a showroom, strip it out if you have to. Just like strip it bare bones and just make it look like it's supposed to look. But make dealerships where you order the car. Have a test drivable version of each car at the dealership. Basically, just get rid of half the dealerships. Just have one in every major city. You don't need 30. But make them where you can test drive it. Person decides they want it. They order it at the store. You do that, you don't have to have a bunch of these already. You just make them a trim package, and then you make them when they're ordered. Yeah. And then you don't have to worry about, oh, we made a ton of these and none of them sold.
So it's interesting that it took Mercedes this long to realize that people aren't buying wagons anymore. The Japanese figured it out like 20 years ago.
Well, in Germany, people were buying wagons for a little while. They were buying wagons because they didn't want to buy SUVs, because in certain parts of Europe, the SUVs are still too big for the roads they have over there. So the wagon was kind of an alternative to that, and now I don't think anybody cares. I think nobody cares, and two, I think Europe is too expensive to actually buy nice cars anymore.
Yeah, their gas prices are freaking crazy. Which also, this is not a wagon. So they weren't making wagons anyways. That's a crossover at best.
That's minimum a crossover. The Mercedes interiors are hit or miss.
This one, miss. Did they ever stop designing this? They just kept going.
Is this one of those things where they just they should have stopped and they didn't?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I guess that's kind of wagony.
It almost looks long enough to be a wagon. It sits a little bit too high. It honestly looks like it looks kind of like cross-trekky.
So, Merck's gonna stop making wagons. They're, I think, gonna focus. I don't even I can't even say they're gonna focus on sedans.
I feel like BMW...
they're just gonna go to SUVs.
Yeah, I feel like BMW did the same thing, but it did it 10 years ago. The last wagon, BMWs did make wagons for a little while, but I haven't seen any recently.
They are making, and this is what we saw, the CLA shooting brake. Not a shooting brake. I think traditionally shooting brakes are two-door.
You're going to have to explain what a shooting brake is to me.
It's a European thing. It's kind of like a wagon, but two-door, traditionally. So you've got like two front seats, maybe some kind of semi-seats in the middle, and then just cargo area. Aside from, they're not making wagons anymore, but...
I know a lot of people that think wagons are cool, and if they brought them back that as an actual thing, I feel like they don't even bother to try to sell them anywhere but in Germany anymore. Anyway, so of course the market's going to be smaller.
I mean, part of the problem is that in an American context, at least, consumers are so fucking delusional when it comes to vehicle safety. And it's a combination of consumers are delusional about vehicle safety, and also vehicle safety standards have become so absurdly biased in favor of SUVs and big trucks. It's ridiculous. And so consumers, because your average consumer, they're not enthusiasts. They don't care how it drives. They don't care how it handles. They just want to make sure that when their own stupid, phone in their face driving causes them to wreck into a truck, that they're going to walk away and be able to buy another one of these stupid things. And of course, if you're driving a 4,500 pound SUV with crumple zones the size of the Empire State Building, you're going to walk away from that. Whereas in a wagon, maybe you're marginally less likely. Maybe, you can survive a 55-mile-an-hour crash instead of a 60-mile-an-hour crash. But of course, everyone buys everything on credit nowadays anyways. Nobody cares about whether they can afford it or not. So they go out and they buy the biggest fucking thing they can. And, I mean, I have other opinions on this that I can't share on this podcast. Because there's other reasons for this, but they're not...
I actually think you brought up a good point that I wasn't. You brought up a good point that I wasn't thinking about with the Ford thing. Mm-hmm. People buy everything on credit, and I feel like car salesmen go out of their way to make sure they're kind of obscuring how much things actually are supposed to cost because they're like, well,
Yeah,
you can afford the note for a little while, so what's the
yeah.
problem?
If you go to
So,
any dealership, my voice, any dealership nowadays, all they talk about is the payment. They don't talk about the
yeah,
price, especially not the final price after you've made all the payments. All they talk about is like,
yeah.
how big of a payment? How can we make the payment work for you? It's about extracting the money from you by making it seem more palatable, and that stupid Foursquare method. But yeah, wagons in America, part of it is the stupid cafe standards, which are getting rolled back. But I don't think the rollback for cafe standards is going to stop people from buying SUVs because people are too used to big, comfortable luxury SUVs because that's what they want. They want a nice, big, air-conditioned box that's nice and soft on the roads, and they don't care how it handles, as opposed to a smaller, tighter, stiffer riding wagon that maybe it's cheaper and maybe it's more economical, but it's not as comfortable and they don't care about the price of it anyways. The only company that I think could really pull off selling wagons to the mass market is, frankly, Subaru. And that's because Subaru is the new Volvo in terms of safety. Well, Volvo could also do it. I think Volvo still sells wagons anyways. But they don't because consumers would rather buy the SUVs.
I
So,
actually just thought of something. Mercedes might have struggling sales with these anyway because half the wagon market is taken by the RS6 Avant,
well,
and
and I
people
mean
can buy that with whatever.
that's what they're saying. They're not selling them anymore because people aren't buying them, and people aren't buying them because safety standards are stupid, and the average buyer nowadays just wants something big and comfortable. That they want something big and comfortable, and I feel like, and this is a complete tangent. I apologize, but they want something. The safety standards have deluded people into thinking that they can drive with one hand on their phone.
It's true.
And
I honestly, I feel like that's one of the reasons I think we, at least from a training standpoint, need to take away automatics when you're training in school. You actually need to have focus to be on the road, and people don't have focus. And the more we fucking safety everything, like the more we add guardrails to every facet of driving, the more that's going to be a problem.
yeah, so I think we've at this point exhausted all we can say about this. It's a fairly smart decision from Merck. It's just kind of sad. Moving on to so BMW, how the mighty have fallen. So they're not stopping. They're going to keep selling cars with manuals in them, but they're not developing new manuals. And the reason for this is twofold. One is consumer side, right? Consumers aren't buying stick as much as they used to, especially consumers of, and I'll get into the difference between the like big high horsepower sports saloons and the small lower horsepower handling focused Japanese sports cars, because that is a segment where people are absolutely buying manuals. I mean, there's a reason why Toyota, Subaru, Mazda, Nissan are all still like offering thriving manual options. In a lot of cases, I mean, with the 8.6, you still have to pay what is it like $2,000 extra to get the automatic, as opposed to BMW owners. So part of it is consumers just aren't buying manuals anymore, and part of it is BMW has kind of, like a lot of, really most manufacturers, I think, fallen into horsepower creep, which has kind of been a thing over, I mean, my entire adult life, where you see creeping higher and higher horsepower numbers, where it's like every new car has to have more power, every new car has to have more torque, every new car has to be faster off the line, especially in the sports segment. It used to be that like your really high end sports cars might have 400, maybe be pushing 500. Now, I mean, your standard spec is considered slow if it doesn't have minimum 350 from the factory. And so their existing manuals are, especially because manuals off the bat can't handle as much power as comparable automatics because they have fewer points of contact in the drivetrain. Their existing manuals can't keep up with the ever increasing horsepower creep. And there's not enough people buying manuals in high end sports cars to justify them developing newer and more durable ones. So they're going to keep selling cars with manuals for as long as their existing transmission models can handle the power they're putting down. But they're expecting that as the power that's standard in these cars goes up and up and up, they're eventually just going to stop selling cars with manual transmissions. Which,
well, BMW has it especially bad because it's like a royal family that's tried to keep the blood in the family for too long.
yeah, that's accurate. I'd say
the cars have been the same way, same basic design, same engine, same everything for, good lord, like I first started hearing about how good M3s were in the 90s. Like, they've been around forever, and everything is the same version of the engine, just detuned or retuned for higher and higher trims, and the body style's the same. So there's only so much you can do. I think every brand that has a line that goes on this long will eventually succumb to horsepower creep. I really do.
Yeah.
Because you can only do so much with the suspension before you just stop getting results.
Yeah.
Like, eventually you're going to hit that cap. And I think that's part of the reason they've priced themselves out of the market where people would actually want the fucking manuals anyway. These cars are getting way more expensive than they need to be. The M2 is considered the low end, and I think they start at 40. You can get plenty of shit below that.
Yeah. And you're right. These are no longer really cars for enthusiasts. I mean, there's a reason why serious enthusiasts. I mean, part of why like 90s aughts Bimmers are so expensive on the used market is because all the enthusiasts have moved to those older cars. I don't know the model codes. I'm not a European car guy. I'm a Japanese car guy and marginally an American car guy. I don't care what the Euros do. And I almost feel like the added horsepower after a point starts to detract from the handling because you get heavier and heavier engines, you get more and more mechanical complexity up front, and frankly, the simple dynamics of putting that power to the wheels starts to impact your handling at a certain point. And that drives enthusiasts away, and especially as the Japanese market is, rather than competing on more and more power, is kind of, I mean, everyone really is going back to their roots. This is turning into hopefully a whole decade of manufacturers kind of going back to their roots and what made them popular in the first place. And the Japanese manufacturers are going back to the roots with like, okay, we're going to make these small, fuel efficient cars that are maybe not super fast off the line, except for, the Skylines and, the GTRs and things like that, but that handle amazingly well and are affordable and are fairly fuel efficient. And again, they offer them with manuals, and they appeal more strongly to enthusiasts. Whereas BMW, they don't really target enthusiasts anymore. They target people who maybe want to be seen as enthusiasts, but want all the comfort and driving aids, and they want the velvet rope track day, as it were.
I could see that. One thing I will say is that I feel like a lot of these cars, no matter the trim with BMW, except for the Z4s, end up as luxury rental cars, though.
Yeah.
Especially in New York. I mean, there are entire rental companies that just buy these cars brand new and then rent them out to the people that go do that shit through traffic all day.
Yeah.
All those videos you see online of people going through Manhattan and shit, those are all rental cars. You can tell because in a couple of those videos, they straight up say they're rental cars. Here's the company I rented it from.
They're happy.
Well, no, the owner is one of those guys that does that all day.
What I will say though is that this line I find kind of funny. which is that Frank Van Meel, the CEO of the M division, has said the days of performance manufacturers offering manual transmissions are numbered. No, the days of like European and especially German performance manufacturers offering manuals, those might be numbered. I can see the Europeans and I can see really the Germans, the wider Europeans, and the Americans ditching manuals entirely. Maybe not so much the Americans. It could go either way. Europeans
We can hope
definitely
not.
they're all going to go dual clutch, right? That's the future for Europeans.
Well, the German and European market is a little bit weird because they're in their kind of own little ecosystem and they have the Autobahn. So they want the cars to be able to just carry speed. They don't really care about the lower end of that. And if you're not able to carry high speeds through the Autobahn, then you're just like, people don't give a shit about the car.
The Japanese are all in on manuals because the Japanese actually care about marketing. Well, it's not even that they actually care about marketing enthusiasts. They market, really, the Japanese and the Americans market to different enthusiast segments. And then the Europeans market to people who want to be seen as enthusiasts. Europeans sell cars to people who want everyone to think they're a car enthusiast. But they want the comfortable velvet rope track day. And you can tell even when you see videos of these newer cars on the Autobahn, it's velvet rope. It's all the assists on, the car does half the driving anyways. The Americans appeal to the car enthusiasts that want raw power, raw straight line speed, the roar of the engine. And those guys are great. Love hanging out with those guys. And the Japanese market to car enthusiasts like us that want the twisties, that want to be pushed into the seat bolsters, that want the sideways G-forces. And the Japanese, because of that, are going to keep with the manuals, and they're absolutely going to still offer them, even as standard on some models. Again, the 8.6. And the Americans, I mean, we can hope, are going to keep manuals, but to be honest, I could see America kind of going, probably not dual clutch, certainly not CVT, but definitely like slush box autos. Especially because I'm going to be frank, and I know there's a lot of people that are going to say, you're not a real car enthusiast for saying this. I don't care. I'm going to say it. Modern slush box autos, actually not that bad. Manual versus slush box auto largely comes down to personal preference, in my personal opinion. Having driven both.
I will say one of the things that gets the goat with American cars in particular, we were talking about the Mustang earlier, and I believe you said it was going to have a dual clutch or something. They're moving that way.
7-speed dual clutch.
So the one thing I will say about dual clutches when it comes to shit with big V8s and stuff is people buy American cars because they're raw. Dual clutches are not raw.
Yeah.
They very much soften the shifts, and a lot of people like the single clutch. Like the older Lamborghinis, people are still huge on those cars because they're single clutch. So every time you shift, it's like hard jolt. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna say that this is the mighty have fallen. BMW M cars are becoming more and more, especially the M cars, more and more.
This is BMW not caring about anything but the European market.
Basically,
it's actually BMW, Audi, and Mercedes have all done the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't give a shit about any other market. They'll move into it if they think it'll make them money, but other than that, they don't give a shit.
Hence why, fuck off, the Z4 is being killed, which doesn't surprise me.
Not at all. Honestly, I'm surprised they kept it around as long as they did.
Yeah.
This car has long not been competing well enough with the likes of the Miata and the FRS and everything else in its class for a long time.
Yeah. Probably because they focused heavily on horsepower. And also because of the price. If I remember correctly.
The prices for the Z4s have been kind of high.
Mm-hmm. And
it was always the higher end of those coupes.
Yeah. This, if I remember correctly, is kind of their flip side to the Mark V Supra. And with Toyota wrapping up the Supra, or at least this generation of the Supra, Not surprised that BMW is going to wrap up their version as well. On the Supra side of things, I really hope the rumors are true that we're going to get another generation of the Supra with a V6, and that it's going to be internally developed. I think between the Supra and the 8.6, it sounds a lot like Toyota in the teens kind of had they wanted to kickstart getting back into sports cars again, but they needed resources from other manufacturers. So they cut these deals. They cut the deal with BMW to make the Supra, and BMW got the Z4 out of it. And they cut the deal with Subaru to make the 8.6, and Subaru got the BRZ out of it. And it seems like what Toyota's doing is they're like, okay, we've got our sports car division's gotten big enough, GR's gotten big enough. We don't need to work with other manufacturers anymore unless we want specific bits of technology. And so they're cutting off the Supra, so they don't have to work with BMW anymore with the engine. They can build their own engine in house. It seems like their rumors are true. They're kind of cutting off Subaru so they can make their own version of the 8.6. But with BMW dropping the Z4, they are no longer making, I believe they're no longer making any kind of coupe or roadster. They're focusing entirely on sedans and SUVs. And very terrible SUVs at that. I mean, all SUVs are terrible, frankly, from a driving enthusiast perspective. But BMWs always seem to have weird esoteric problems.
The BMW market has always been the saloon market.
Oh, yeah. But no wonder they could compete. The base
that's the
was
regular
70
version?
grand, and the final version is almost 80. I mean, it's got more horsepower. It's probably faster in a straight line, but you're charging twice what an 8.6 costs.
For not the only base. That, you want to drop, dude. I mean, it's a bigger car, obviously, than the two I'm about to list. But if you want a drop top that looks like that, you can have either a Miata, like a brand new Miata, at half this price, or you can also do, if they're still making them, the Fiat made a car like this too, the Spider.
Which
I don't know if they're still making them. Basically, exactly like that.
Basically, a Fiat rebadge of the Spider, but not the Spider, of the Miata. The 124 Spider.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're still making them, but I mean, there's plenty of cars in this class that you can get. I mean, hell, even I think the Nissan. Do they make the new Nissans as drop tops?
I'm not sure, actually. I haven't been tracking it, but yeah, the 124 Spider, it's literally a Miata. Like they put a new front end on a Miata.
And the Miatas have such a cult following that the Z4 is never going to take that market, especially not at that price. That price is fucking ridiculous. I don't care what you stuff in it.
Yeah, isn't that? I think that's more expensive than a Supra. Because where does the Supra start?
I think you might be right. Let's look.
Yeah, they start at 56.9. So like 13K cheaper. You can get a Supra, which has the same engine.
It has the same engine, and it's probably 500 pounds lighter because it doesn't have all the fucking workings for the drop top.
Yeah, you're right. Why the hell were they still selling this?
See what I mean? I feel like they should have killed these off like pre-2020.
What is wrong with BMW? Why are they making all these, dropping the manual, selling this thing?
Well, dude, and everybody thought BMW was going to be one of the last to have the manuals, and now they're dropping them because they just don't feel like fucking making new ones. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like BMW is going to hit a reckoning soon.
Well, they're going all in on hybrid SUVs and M cars.
They're saying they're going to let them phase out, but then the car that everybody moves to after BMW, because, you have Volkswagen. People move from Volkswagen to BMW and BMW into Porsche. That is the typical progression for that because it's all three German cars and they just love how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
Porsche is now making a car that is specifically going to be manual. Because we talked about that last week or the week before.
Yeah.
So I don't get this move. It's frantic, and it just doesn't make any sense to me that they're going to let manuals phase out.
Baffling moves out of 13,000 more than a Supra, which is the same car.
I'd rather own the Supra. Although, dude, the one thing I will say about the one thing I will say that I hate about the Supra, and this probably has the same problem if it's the same engine, same transmission, is the shifting noise sounds like the car is farting on both of them. It's terrible, and it doesn't get better with an exhaust either.
Well,
every day. It's like, what are you fucking? Why? Why would you sound like that? I don't like that. That sounds like gears grinding.
Well, let's hope that we do get a Toyota designed V6 in a new Supra and a Toyota designed V6 in a new 86.
You know what they need to do?
A turbocharged all-wheel drive BRC.
They need to find a way to modernize the engines from the Mark IV Supras, the turbo engines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2JZ GTEs. Yeah. If they found a way to modernize those slightly, and then to make them super fucking moddable, that would be probably one of the most popular cars on the market.
Yeah. So, just what is BMW? What is their plan?
They're trying. Well, dude, I mean, the fucking 7 Series cars look like they're just trying to copy. So I think it's two things. I think the lower trim models are trying to compete on the price point and comfort of their biggest competitor in Germany. And then the higher trim models are just trying to copy the luxury car brands. So doesn't that look like it's trying to copy a Rolls?
Yeah.
That looks almost exactly like a Rolls-Royce Wraith, but with a fucking ugly-ass front end.
Yeah, it looks like a Rolls-Royce Wraith that somebody hit in the face with a frying pan.
Yeah.
It didn't have to look bad.
It got hit with a frying pan and lost a chromosome. That's what that looks like.
Yeah. So, I think the sum of their decisions is what you said. They're kind of hyper-focusing on the European market and ditching everyone everywhere else.
Yeah, they're competing directly with Mercedes for the luxury, like the middle of the road luxury car market, I think is what it is.
And speaking of people competing in specific parts of the world and also baffling German decisions.
The most baffling most baffling German decision we've seen today. I don't know how this works.
Why would anyone invest in China? First of all, because their populace is their economy is actively cratering. Their unemployment rate, I think the last numbers we got out of youth unemployment out of China was like, it was before I enlisted, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, was like 25% youth unemployment, and then they banned collecting that statistic.
Well, and also
that was
you have
like
to
years
imagine
ago.
that. Yeah, you have to imagine that even then they fucking fudged those numbers to be lower than they actually were.
Yeah,
it could have been double that. Wouldn't have surprised me.
Every credible indication coming out of China is that you have this very small population at the top of like party functionaries that have any money, and then a vast population that are broke and barely scraping by. And
you know what I think it is? I think Audi probably ran into some trouble, and China has invested in them.
Let me continue. We'll get back there because I really want to set the stage here as to why this is a completely bonkers decision. So you've got that, and then to add on to that, the Chinese auto market, and specifically the Chinese EV market, because of absolutely insane debt-driven subsidies from the government, is swamped with domestic EV manufacturers. I mean, there's tons of them, and the Chinese domestic auto industry is basically like something like 80% just their domestic EV makers. And Audi looks at that. They look at a market that's already completely saturated with EV manufacturers who've been doing this for a long time and are being like actively subsidized by the government and are trying to sell to a population that can no longer afford to buy their product. And they're thinking, yes, this is our new focus. This is where we will shift our attention and our marketing and our design strategy. Is this market we have no hope of breaking into that we can't make any money off of anyways? What
I really feel
is Audi doing?
If the same thing that Canada would be doing if they had any car manufacturers. They're trying to move into China because they're just like, well, China has a huge population and people buy cars.
Not Chinese.
No, people in China buy fucking motorized bikes because they can't afford anything else. That's what China buys.
They signed a strategic cooperation agreement with SAIC Motor. Okay, so the Chinese get their technology and they get fuck all because that's how these. Bro, the Chinese have been doing this shit for decades. I don't know why anybody falls for this. They give you these like wonderful fake fudge numbers on how many bajillions of dollars you're going to make if you invest in their market. And they say it's illegal for you to do business in their market directly. You have to work with one of their companies and you have to sign your IP over to their companies. And then you do that and they just take your fucking IP and they run away with it. They're literally just giving their EV technology to their direct competitors who are just going to use it to build their own shit. Well, are people still falling for this? At least Americans have stopped falling for this, but the Europeans apparently are still completely delusional about it.
At least honestly, all I can say is this is Audi giving up the electric part, because if they were giving up the rest of it, we'd have a problem. But the electric part's going to fail sooner or later.
This honestly, and this is maybe some of my like American chauvinism, which I do not apologize for, coming out. But this honestly feels like the Europeans kind of trying to snub and thumb their nose at the Americans because they're not happy with what we're doing, namely looking out for ourselves. And they're like, oh, well, you know, if America is gonna do things that we don't like and act in a way we don't like, we will invest in China and that'll show them. And all it's gonna do is fuck themselves over for no benefit. But I'm sure you feel better. We're gonna keep buying from the Japanese, so have fun with that, buddy.
Which have infinitely better cars and an economy that isn't crumbling.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think Audi is struggling against the competition in Germany. If I had to say what I couldn't even tell you which one was better. Between BMW and Mercedes, but I will tell you that Audi is not even near the top of the list. Volkswagen, I think, takes more fucking market share than Audi does. Even though I think they own them.
I don't think
so. Do they own Audi? Who owns Audi?
So. Let me find out. I think that they are their own thing. Oh, nope. Wholly owned subsidiary of the Volkswagen Group. So what the fuck is Volkswagen doing?
That's a good question.
Volkswagen owns a lot of shit.
Volkswagen owns Porsche, Lamborghini. They own everything.
Audi, Bentley, Lamborghini.
Why the fuck
Porsche.
do they own Scout? And what is Seat?
Seat?
Scout, yeah, they bought the American company Scout Motors.
Seat is Spanish. So is Cupra.
Skoda, I'm surprised that's even a thing anymore. I don't know what Cupra is. Ducati is a bike company. Jetta.
Okay. That's kind of interesting. We learn new things every day. So yeah, what the hell is Volkswagen doing then?
I don't know.
And then, yeah, no plans to bring any Chinese-built Audi models to North America. American automakers lobby against bringing Chinese cars to market on the grounds they cannot compete with them on price. Well, the reason why the automakers don't want them to come here is because, yes, we can't compete with them on price because they're literally subsidized by the Chinese government, which is willing to take out like unlimited amounts of debt to make themselves look good. And the reason why the American government is agreeing is because they're a massive fucking security risk. There you go.
Thank
Um,
God that we think they're a massive fucking security risk, by the way, because if they were here, it'd be a giant problem. But yeah, you're correct. China is willing to take out any amount of debt, and it's not even to make themselves look good; it's to undermine us.
yep. So again, throwing their whole company off a cliff. In 5 years, if they're still around, if the Chinese economy hasn't finally just completely collapsed, um, SAIC will have their own car that looks suspiciously like this. Audi will no longer be doing business in China, and they will have lost billions and billions and billions of dollars doing nothing.
That will have to be bailed out by the European economy too, because they're not
If
going to let
it's
Audi fail.
if
Audi
that
is like,
if that still exists in 5 years.
it's true. Of course, the Volkswagen Group's not going to let it fail because they make money off
And
of it. But
and and in the meantime, the American auto industry will continue to thrive, and the Japanese auto industry, which is like the American auto industry finally pulling out of its funk, will also continue to thrive.
yeah, you know what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a kickback. I'm seeing a kickback agreement where Audi thinks it's going to make kickbacks off of the Chinese government for this.
Yeah,
They're like,
100%.
we'll help you develop the technology, and then you're going to pay us back later, right? Right? And the Chinese are going, yes, we're going to pay you back. Yes, no, fuck, we're not. Shut up.
So Nissan is trying to, I don't want to say revive the Infiniti brand because it never went away. It just kind of faded in its luster.
It took a very hard dip.
Yeah. Um, their Nissan is, you know what? They're going back to basics, and I like that. They've acknowledged that they made some mistakes. They kind of tried to build Infinity into its own thing, its own ground up thing, instead of better supporting them. And they just went all in on SUVs. They went all in on electric, if I remember correctly, and they lost touch of who was buying their cars and why. And with the new CEO of Nissan, who's so far looks really good, um, they're pulling it back. So far, we'll see if they can follow through on this. They're targeting 5 new models for Infiniti. So they're completely redoing the lineup. They've announced 4 of them. They're going to have a mid-size SUV, so kind of a crossover-ish thing. 2 ladder frame SUVs, so the big boys.
All three will be hybrids.
And the 4th is a performance sedan based on the Nissan Skyline with a twin turbo V6. The Skyline is back, if it ever left. This makes me happy.
That's very good.
Oh,
Very
we're
good.
back.
Honestly,
We're so
just
back.
you know what they need to do when this inevitably hopefully works. Oh wait, that's Lexus. Never mind. So Infinity really tried to go for the high end like luxury market, like BMW and stuff like that, but I don't think they could beat out Lexus. I think they were having a very hard time, and they were making the exact same cars as Lexus was, and they weren't winning.
Yeah. They
Uh,
they kind of were doing the same thing that BMW is doing right now, which is
yeah.
like you say, focusing on the luxury and the performance and moving away from the actual like enthusiast vehicles. They stopped making. I mean, it's you can have your high-end luxury stuff, but in a market that is saturated with high-end varyingly luxurious models. If you want to stand out and compete in a underfulfilled niche, you really have to have something that caters to the fun handling performance side of things, which is the new Skyline.
Well, and also, dude, every single company on the planet makes a four-door sedan and multiple fucking SUVs.
Yeah.
There's not gonna be ever a point in time where one thing is gonna take the entire market cap. All these companies are getting like a percentage point of the market for those cars because there's too many of them. They're
Yeah.
never going to make any real money. You need the enthusiast cars. You need the super high end stuff. You need things that will actually make money that are different.
Yeah. And Nissan more broadly kind of had the issue where they had too much crap. I mean,
Nissan has a huge lineup.
They have a massive, massive lineup. I mean, I don't care. Having a look, they have the Kicks, the Rogue, the Leaf, the Pathfinder, the Murano, the Armada. They've got one truck, Frontier. For cars,
And
Versa, Sentra, Ultima, the Z, like, but especially like so many. They're
and
trying to.
This is what I'm talking about with the SUV market too. I mean, each of those is a percentage point. It's not going to take up even 10% of the market. You're making them in bulk and you're putting all in towards a market that is so oversaturated that you may get lucky to have 5% of the market.
So Nissan has said they're trying to cut the number of platforms they have to just 7 by 2035, so in like 9 years.
So they need to drop.
Hopefully,
they need to drop 4 of their SUVs. They need to make an Armada, and I'd say,
I mean,
drop everything but the Armada and the Pathfinder, and maybe the Rogue.
So they need one full-size SUV, which is the Armada. Kind of a mid-size SUV, which is probably the Kicks, I would say, either the Kicks or the Rogue. The Rogue does have more better brand.
I'd say keep the Rogue, the Pathfinder, and the Armada, because the Murano is terrible. We had a Murano. They still make them the same way. It's an attempt at a truck suspension under a 4-door frame, and it's atrocious. They're probably a little bit more comfortable now. They need to drop the Versa or the Sentra. They need to do one or the other. Just leave the Ultima needs to stay because that's a very popular car.
I would keep the Versa, keep the Ultima.
Yeah, drop the Sentra.
Yeah, drop the Sentra. And then
they could frankly drop the Nissan, the truck. They have one truck for Nissan, and
the Frontier is decently popular. I would keep the Frontier and then keep the Z. And there's your 7.
The Frontier's decently popular, but the market for trucks, nobody ever mentions the Frontier as a thing. That's why I'd say drop it.
I would actually ditch.
Well, the Versa is your super cheap car, and then the Ultima's an appropriate size.
Ditch the Versa and make a lower end trim of the Ultima, like a really cheap trim of the Ultima. Like,
so we're talking both the Versa and the Sentra.
Yeah, like we're talking like Mitsubishi Mirage level strip down, and then bring back the Maxima, high end car.
You know what? Actually, I could see that. So drop the Versa and the Sentra, make the Ultima have trims all the way down to close to the Versa starting price, and then bring back the Maxima as like the ultimate 4-door for them. I could see that.
Yep. Honestly, do they need the Pathfinder in between the Armada and the Rogue?
I'd say if you're gonna leave it down to those 3 and then get rid of one, still get rid of the Rogue. Just keep the Pathfinder, the Armada. People like the big ones, and people find a way to strip out the Pathfinder and make it like the starting price of the Rogue for the lower trims.
I can see that. And then
people are used to big vehicles, so keep the big vehicles is basically what I'm saying.
And then make either a stripped down trim or a stripped down version of the Z.
We got a story for next week, by the way, because I just saw an article of hinting at a new GTR.
New GTR, new Skyline. God,
Bring
what
back the
else?
Sylvia.
They need to bring back the Sylvia, but that's not confirmed yet. I'm looking at what's confirmed. Um,
The Nissan Xterra. They're bringing out another SUV. Instead of getting rid of one, they're adding one. So the new Xterras are actually about to. I have another article for next week. They're bringing them back at 40K
why?
starting. I don't know. The Xterra though is a off-road vehicle.
Yeah, that's true. But
so
going back to like sports cars coming back. The Skyline's coming back. The GTR's coming back.
People want to bring back the
Supra's coming
Sylvia,
back.
but we need the Supra. Well, you said Supra?
Yeah,
Sylvia. Supra
Sylvia.
is Toyota.
I know. Both. I want both.
Yeah. Indeed, yeah.
You know, I'm of two minds on Subaru. For a while, I've been saying that they shouldn't bring back the Baja, and that would be terrible. Maybe they could make it work. So
you know what they do? They bring back the Ute body style and make it a two-door.
I could see
with a
that.
truck bed.
I could see that. So I think we've exhausted that. Just kind of closing comments. The Japanese auto industry is coming back in a big way. They're kind of realigning and unfucking a lot of the nonsense. The American auto industry seems to be coming back and unfucking a lot of the nonsense. A lot of exciting new sports cars coming out. I wonder almost if the reduction or elimination of the CAFE regulations might be starting to bear fruit. And then the European auto industry is stubbornly and with its head held high, walking off a cliff.
Well, the European auto industry is still putting up with stricter than the U.S. CAFE standards.
That's true.
So until that changes, it's going to be a problem. Was there anything that pissed you off? We didn't have a grind your gears.
We do have a grind of gears. We have one that we've been putting off for like 3 weeks now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I kept coming with better ones. So this is one I'm pulling out of my back pocket. What grinds my gears this week is shitty parking. Oh my word. And every single day I find new examples of it. The other day I was parked next to a guy in a sedan, and his nose was like 3 feet off the end of the lines because the full-size fucking truck behind him had its back wheels on the center line, and it was sticking all the way up. Why
Fantastic.
can't people park anymore?
Well, and I'll even add something that here in Texas we have a problem of people leaving. They pull into spots forward. The ass end sticks way too far out because they don't know how far forward the nose needs to go. So it's sitting way back from the line. So their ass end's sticking way out. And an extra foot off the fucking back of it, they got a tow hook sticking out.
Yeah, which I don't
Take
know
off
how.
Your tow hooks is another one.
I don't know how it is in Texas. I know in the state of New York it is illegal to drive around with a tow hook there. You can only have the tow hook.
It is unfortunately not illegal here, and it needs to be.
But that doesn't get enforced. People drive around with tow hooks anyways. Part of the problem too is it's like you have people buying cars. This goes back to what I said all the way at the start of the segment. You have people buying cars that they can't friggin' park. You know, it's this huge box on wheels, and it's like, how do I maneuver this? How do I handle it in a parking space? You have a backup camera. They all have backup cameras. Back the fucker in. Why are people still like nose in parking nowadays? With
I don't get
cameras?
why anybody knows in parks, unless it's a slanted park. I can see nose in parking for like the slanted parking spaces, but I can't if it's rows where it's just like straight rows all the way through. You should be backing into this.
My honest response to that is get good. It's tricky, but it's not impossible. It's not even that hard. And again, backup camera. If I can do it in a Ute with no backup camera, any idiot can do it in a SUV with a backup camera. The one part I can see that being a problem at
is stores, like grocery stores. People want access to their trunk. But then again, grocery stores should have fatter spots if that's going to be the case, because nobody knows how to park here either.
Yeah, my local Walmart, some of their spots, they've got like the center line and then parking spots branching off from it. That I think is a good idea. But it's not going to help if people don't know how to friggin' park. Because again, you buy a vehicle that's way too big for you to actually be able to handle it, and you don't ever bother. There's just no consequences to shitty parking. Nobody gets named and shamed for it. People are just dicks to each other nowadays, and it really is starting to piss me off.
It's been pissing me off for a while. Welcome to the club.
Yeah. So that's what's always grinding my gears. It doesn't help for me anyways because where I work, the parking spaces are actually like below the legal minimum size. The parking spaces are so small, they actually are a little cramped for me to park my 8.6 in. I want you to ruminate on that for a moment. Because in standard size parking spaces, that thing is like tiny looking. But mine fits snugly in. So part of the problem is just that my work has shitty spaces, but also it's because people drive full-size trucks to an office job.
That is true.
You have an office job. Why do you need a full-size crew cab with a 7-foot bed?
Well, and you ask them what they ever do with it, and they're just like, "Oh, I just drive it around." Do you like go to Lowe's and do home improvement projects? No, not really. I hire people to do that. Do you pull a trailer? No, I don't do that shit. So why do you fucking need a truck?
If you do pull a trailer, like, okay, you like to go vacationing in your giant camper. Buy a sedan. If you can afford $250,000 camper trailer, you can afford a fucking Ultima. Just buy one of those daily to work. You do not need to drive your full-size truck to an office job. I mean, I brought this up to one of my coworkers, and he was like, well, there's some people live out in rural areas that are hard to get to, and they live on gravel roads. Okay? Buy a Subaru. Let's go anywhere. And they make ones that aren't huge. Buy an Impreza.
You know what we need to do? We really need the super tiny Japanese car market cars to come here. Like the fucking Hilux and shit. Hey, you can buy a truck. It's nowhere near large enough to do anything to.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If you want a truck, you can buy it and still fit everywhere. I'll see people coming to town with their full-size fucking long bed dualies, and I'm like, where is that gonna sit? Oh, the outer wheels sit across both fucking lines, so you're taking up 3 spaces no matter what. Thank you for this.
I've seen, that brings, because I have seen dualies, and bear in mind, I live in a suburban area. People driving dualies to Walmart in the suburbs, and they live in the suburbs. I know because I see them parked in the suburbs. And for those, it's almost more annoying when they do try to fit into a standard space because you're right, they just end up being over the lines on both sides. With a dually, it's actually less dickish if you double park it.
Somehow, yeah. It's funny, but people still hold that against them, and then they'll fucking block them in. But like, you're right, a dually might as well just take 2 spots because otherwise it's taking 3.
I don't even have a problem with people, and this goes back to the Hilux. I don't even have a problem with people like buying a truck just because they like driving a truck. I have a truck that I own purely because I like driving it. But
you don't need a brand new
full-size crew cab with a 7-foot bed. You can have a truck that's not huge.
Exactly. Yeah, you can buy the Nissan Frontier.
Yeah.
There's the Toyota Tacoma, the Maverick, the Ranger, the whatever the GMC half size is, and they're about to come back out with the Dakota. You have plenty of options for trucks without being a jackass.
If you want to live in the suburbs and you want to have a truck because you want to be handy, I get it. I understand. I support that completely. Buy a 1/4 ton or a 1/2 ton. You don't need a 2 ton to go to an office job.
You don't need it to go to Walmart either.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous. Dude, 90% of the people I know around here that own dualies also own golf carts. Take the golf cart.
You also don't need a 3-row SUV to get your 2 kids to school. I had one chick.
3-row SUVs are excessive.
I had one chick. I was talking to about this, and she actually ditzy woman, right? But she actually said, "Well, I want the big fully loaded SUVs because I don't want my kids to be bullied at school for what they're being dropped off in." I got dropped off to school in a beat up Elantra. Who cares?
I got dropped off to school in a light blue minivan. I never got bullied over it. And also, I love that most of these women will say, I want the big fuck off SUV because I don't want my kids to be bullied, but then they'll get bullied because their mom is an OnlyFans model.
I mean, you're not.
So, like, really? Are you that brain dead?
Yes. If you want a safe SUV, Subaru Outback. They're very safe. I go on about Subis. I'm sorry, I'm a Subi guy. They're just great cars. But yeah, that's what grinds my gears. Is people who don't know how to park and people who drive way more vehicle than they need. And then
thank God we finally got that one out.
Yeah,
that one has been sitting since week 3.
Yeah, now we don't have a backup anymore. And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to end. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day.
Have a good one, everybody.